Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the book, The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Now if you've never heard of him before, I'm very interested. That's surprising. He's actually one of the most successful individuals whenever it comes to the sales way of life. He started off starting on his own investment company and brokerage called Stratton Oakmount, and basically he might have ended up doing some deals that he shouldn't have. Anyways, he ended up going to jail. Now he's back out. He has a good idea. He has a way of basically helping other people. Now the first thing I want to talk about is if you don't think you're a salesman. Well, first of all, that's understandable and that's okay. But the thing that you do not understand is sales is just effective communication. It's in fact the power to influence others. Every single person has the influence over everybody around them, whether it's in a large amount, it's subtly, directly, indirectly. So no matter where you're working, whether it's in your job, whether you're running a team yourself, this book has so many different ways that you can actually understand in terms of executing crucial conversations that you may need to understand. Because sales is just goal-oriented conversation. Now, this book specifically talks about selling a product or service, but that doesn't mean that in your job you might not need to sell a level of idea across to someone. Alright, you might be to look towards getting that promotion. There's obviously things that you can do in order to aid that, and that's what I highly suggest you read this book. Now, if you are a salesperson, to go directly to the sales stuff, especially if you're just moving into the industry, go directly to the sales-oriented stuff. Copy the pipelines and everything that he talks about and apply it directly. But all of the basic skill sets that you can apply, that's for everyone else. So the first thing that he talks about is that everyone in life has a form of influence and the ability to influence someone else. That is the fact. So everyone fundamentally has a level of being a salesman per se. Now, his basically way that he talks about selling is something called straight line. So straight line is just understanding that every conversation you have should or is goal-oriented conversation. Now, he views this as a straight line. So that, if this here is the start of the conversation, this here is the goal, this is the direct straight line. So ideally, you should be like, hey, my name's Chrison, I'm selling this, I want you to buy, right? That's the way that sales, hopefully, should go, but they never do. And it basically talks about understanding that you're going to have to mix casual conversation, right, in with the direct straight line, but you always want to look towards progressing along it, right? So it takes the persuader to move along the line, but also keep them on the goal. And you're going to come back and forth, and this is the product, and so on and so on and so on. How's your day? And you go back and forth the line. So that's what the straight line. So the core elements of these are the 3 tenets. So you need to develop a belief in the product. You need to speak with conviction. If the person can't believe you, how do you expect them to buy if they can't believe the product? The next one is that you need to have belief in you. The prospect needs to have belief in you. They need to trust you. If they can't trust you, then they're not going to listen to you. Those are the facts. No matter how good the product is, if you're trying to talk to someone about an iPhone, but you come across sleazy, they're going to second guess whether or not the iPhone is legit. That's how it works. Even though the iPhone is 100% real legit product, if you come across sleazy, they don't trust you, they're never going to buy it just because they might think they get ripped off, even if what you're talking about is 100% genuine. So the first one is you need to have belief in the product. The product needs to be genuine. It needs to appear genuine. It can't be something like that doesn't make sense to them. They need to actually comprehend and understand what it is that they're buying. That's what it says in number 1. Number 2 is you need to have belief in you. Trust. If they don't trust what you're selling, no one cares what you have to say if they don't know that you care. So you have to make sure that you're coming across as a genuine person, someone who has their best interest in mind. And then once that's been established, then they can start listening to what it is that you're talking about. The next one is trust in the company. Now this one is an interesting one, because there are some times where companies have a bad background that have just completely changed, and it's all about understanding their perception of the company. Not necessarily if they trust it, but what the company means to them. Now, that is something that you may have to overcome depending on the industry that you're in, but no matter what, those are the 3 important things. So they need to believe the product, they need to believe in you, and they need to trust in the company. Because if any one of these 3 things fail or you're lacking in, you may not experience failure on the first one, but definitely they might pull out when it comes to the retention period, when it comes to the census period, depending on whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that you're talking about. So to rate that outside of a sales world, let's say you're an employee going for a promotion. They need to, number 1, trust in your product. So your product is your ability to deliver. You need to basically trust that you can actually do the job that you're looking towards getting promotion to. If you can't, for example, let's say you're an employee looking towards being a manager, let's pretend that you do not have the skills to be a manager. They need to basically trust that you have that product. Number 2, they need to have belief in you. They need to make sure that you are there and you're being serious, you're being integral to what you're trying to say, and you're not just having a laugh about asking for this promotion. You truly want to basically accomplish it. Because it's one thing to be competent, but it's another thing to be believed. Because there might be a lot of people who are able to manage, but they might be flaky on their integrity. And finally, the trust in the company. Trust in the company means that you're going to follow through with what it is that you're trying to say. Right? That's an example of how an everyday person who's not a salesman can apply these principles. If you can understand those, then you know exactly what it is when you're going into the conversation with your boss. The next thing that it talks about is that there is an action threshold. So every single person who you're talking to has a different action threshold. Some people are straight away, depending on the influence that you already have on them, they're like, hey, do this, and they'll just do it. But for the most part, it's going to change. So they need a level of convincing in those three things before they come to making a decision. And it's your job as the salesperson to understand where it is you are on that line. If there's that law of action, like the action line, where is it that you need to be in order to make sure that they're going to follow through with the decision of buying whatever it is that you're selling? Whether it is yourself, whether it is your product, whether it is your service, no matter what, you need to basically understand where it is they are on that line and what level of convincing they need. There's different levels for different people, and it's your job as a salesperson to have the perception to understand that. And the next one is a pain threshold. So if you've ever heard the term, it's far easier to sell to someone who wants to buy what you're selling. That's obvious, all right? But if you can create a problem or find a problem that they're having and then you're able to fill it, then it's more likely that they're basically going to follow through with it. Now, people move away from pain, or people either make decisions to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. But the best way that you can sell is always by that pain. People hate pain, absolutely dislike it. If you can increase the level of pain and you figure out their threshold towards it, then that's how you can understand what it is that you need to sell, the avenues that you need to take. Right? Because everybody can take a certain level of pain, but there is certain amounts that they will refuse to take. Some people love pleasure. They love pleasure, but they aren't willing to work for it. But if there is so much immense pain in a certain situation, they will always move. Because every single person, understand the difference. Every single person has the ability to have extreme levels of success, that incredible fruits of labor, but they're not willing to put in the work. But if a situation is so terrible, that's when true changes happen. So if you can sort of develop that level of extreme sort of thinking where there is that level of pain attached to whatever it is that you're selling, and this is the cure, this is the solution to the problem that they have, the pain that they're trying to avoid, then you're going to develop a successful sale consistently across a period of time. The next one it talks about logical and emotional certainty. So everybody likes to think that they're logical. Everybody likes to think that they are a 100% logical person. But the facts are is that people make emotional decisions and they justify it with logic. For example, everybody overeats. Everybody overeats. Those are the facts. There's so many things that we buy and we consistently spend money on aspects that we don't need to. But there are emotional ones that we just have non-negotiables. For example, not a single person in this world needs to eat ice cream. Right? But they eat it and they justify it with, oh, well, I have to eat, so that's the logical justification. I'll just buy ice cream. But the fact is that you don't need it. There is so many more cheaper and healthier options that you should take. So everybody makes emotional decisions, they just follow through and justify with logic. So it's understanding that emotional certainty and logical certainty. And it doesn't matter how logically you explain to someone a decision. Hey man, if you don't do this, you're going to do this, and they completely agree with you. If they don't have that gut feeling to follow through with it, you'll never close the sale. If you don't have that, if they just have, oh, I don't know. Everything you're saying, I just don't know. And that emotional certainty is attributed through trust in the product, belief in the product, trust in you, and what the company represents. And then everything that you're talking about following through that, whether it's enthusiasm, you know your facts, you need to come in within 4 seconds. You have 4 seconds from the sale to basically establish that you're sharp as a tack. You know what you're talking about. You're enthusiastic as hell. You need to be the most if you are not excited about the product, how do you expect them to be? And if you're not excited about the product that's going to change their life, how do you expect them to be? Right? And finally, you need to be an expert in your field. If you come across as a rookie, why should they trust anything that you're saying? If you can establish those 3 things in 4 seconds, the sale is going to close, no matter what. But it's about understanding it, and it ends up becoming a mechanical machine that so many parts are falling apart, and you need to oil it consistently, but eventually if you stick to it, you follow through it, you develop a process, but that's the blueprint. Follow it, and there's no doubt you will close 80% of your sales. 80% of your sales will close if you master this pipeline. The book also goes down and breaks down tonality and body language, which are definitely things that are highly important. So I highly suggest that you do read it. If you're in the sales industry, read The Wolf of Wall Street. The Way of the Wolf. There's so many things that you can apply to make sure that you're getting in a better position for success. But other than that, guys, that's it for Quick Notes with Chris on The Way of the Wolf. But don't stop there. Keep striving for improvement. Look at some of the other videos on the channel. Read the books that I'm talking about. Put yourself in a better position for financial success. Other than that, guys, I'm Chris and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like what we're talking about, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, share this with a friend, and we'll see you in the next one. Alright, see you guys.